Hello everyone, my name is Joseph and welcome back to the Popsicle Night channel. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX League Battle Deck with a release date of July 22nd, 2022, and it retails for $29.99. Is this worth buying? Speaking of value, this is definitely a good buy. It's a very strong build out of the box, and this is true even on a competitive level. So let's take a quick glance at what you get from this product. The Pokémon TCG Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX League Battle Deck includes a full playable 60-card deck loaded with power cards, 3 foil cards featuring Ice Rider Calyrex V, 3 foil cards featuring Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, 1 deck box, 2 coin condition markers, 6 damage counter dice, and 1 competition legal coin flip die, 1 Pokémon TCG rulebook, 1 quick guide to unlock the strategies within, and a code card. Now let's briefly look at each card, and along the way, we'll go through the basics on how to pilot this deck. Starting with 3 copies of Ice Rider Calyrex V, it has 210 HP with 2 retreat costs, no resistance, and is weak to metal. It has 2 attacks. The first one is Pierce. For 1 water energy, it deals 40 damage, and its second attack is Glacial Lance. For 2 water and 1 colorless energy, it deals 200 damage, after which you have to discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Nothing too crazy with this one, it's mostly there to evolve into its VMAX form. And this deck of course comes with 3 copies of Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. It has 320 HP with 2 retreat costs, no resistance, and is weak to metal. It has 2 attacks. The first one is Rite of the High King. For 2 colorless energy, it deals 10 plus damage, and 30 more damage for each of your Pokemon's benched Pokemon. So this attack can range anywhere from 10 to 160 damage. Its second attack is Max Lance. For 2 water energy, it deals 10 plus damage, and then you may discard up to 2 energy from this Pokemon, and for each energy you discard this way, you deal an extra 120 more damage. This attack is so strong that it can deal anywhere from 10 to 250 damage. You just have to play between which attack to use because one, you discard energy, while the other one, you don't have to. What makes Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX really great is its speed. You can set up that much damage as early as turn 2. And it has the power to knock out any basic Pokemon V in the game. That's why it's ideal to always go first with this deck and attach the first energy on Ice Rider Calyrex V on turn 1. But because you may have to discard an energy with Max Lance, re-energizing Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX to attack again can become a challenge. However, this is where Melanie comes in. This supporter card allows you to attach 1 water energy from the discard pile to one of your V Pokemon, after which you draw 3 cards. So with this, you can accelerate 1 energy to Ice Rider Calyrex V, and then attach the other energy from your hand for turn, and you'll be able to attack again. Getting our supporter cards and other trainer cards from our deck will be simple enough thanks to the 4-4-2 and 2 line of Inteleon. Sabo has the Keep Calling attack, which allows you to search your deck for 3 basic Rapid Strike Pokemon and put it to your bench. This will help you to set up 3 other Sabos into your bench. At this point, you can evolve Sabo into Drizzile. If you evolve into it from your hand, you can activate its ability Shady Dealings, which basically lets you find any 1 trainer card from your deck. You can then evolve Drizzile into Inteleon. The first Inteleon has the Shady Dealings ability. Similar to Drizzile, if you evolve into it from your hand, you can activate its ability. But this one will allow you to get any 2 trainer cards from your deck instead of 1. The other Inteleon evolution though has the Quick Shooting ability. Once per turn, this allows you to put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Slowly but surely, this can chip away at your opponent's Pokemon, and it may be enough for you to get a knockout with Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX's attack. Remember to use the level balls and evolution incense to get your Drizziles and Inteleons. And when you are able to use Shady Dealings, you'll have easier access to your other trainer cards as well. If you need energy from the deck, you can get Capacious Bucket. This allows you to search your deck for 2 water energies and put it to your hand. And if you need to draw extra cards, you can have access to 2 copies of Professor's Research and 2 copies of Marnie. And if you need to target a specific Pokemon, this deck has 3 Boss's Orders. And since Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX may discard its energies when it attacks, you can get stuck in the active spot defenseless, and it could be difficult to retreat it. That's why 2 copies of Switch can help you get it out of the active spot. Or you can also use Air Balloon to decrease your Pokemon's retreat cost by 2, making it easier to retreat your Pokemon. And for Stadium, this deck has 4 copies of Path to the Peak, which turns off all abilities of any Pokemon with a rule box on them. On certain matchups, this can significantly slow down your opponent's deck, especially if they rely on abilities. And this Stadium is not going to affect you at all since Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX does not have any abilities. And finally, there are 9 basic water energies in this deck. Out of the box, I think this build is really good. Consistency is great thanks to the Shady Dealings ability. It's really fast to set up, but just be aware of losing 3 prizes when they knock out your Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. And that's pretty much it. You can find the complete deck list in the description below. And now please enjoy the following gameplay videos showcasing the Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX League Battle Deck. Alright, so let's try out this Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX League Battle Deck as is. See if we can win a tournament online on PTCGO. So we're going to start this one with a Sobble in the active spot. And my opponent's going to start with a Meloetta. Battle VIP Pass. Most likely this is a Mew VMAX build that we're going up against, which is pretty common in the online tournaments. Sure enough, it is Mew VMAX. They also have Genesect V on their bench. And Genesect V has an ability which allows them to draw cards until they have as many cards on their hand as many Pokemon that is Fusion Strike in play on their board. So I'm gonna switch into their Mew V. Okay. Let's see what my opponent. What else? Cramomatic. Okay. So they discard one item card. Then with a successful coin flip that allows them to get any one card from their deck, which is pretty insane. And ideally you want to start first with this Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX build. But it is okay. We're just gonna get a bunch of Sobble in play because this is our main search engine basically to get as many trainer cards as we want. I'm just gonna Marnie because we need to set up as many basic Pokemon as we can. And we got Path to the Peak, which is actually very relevant to this matchup because now that's gonna turn off my opponent's abilities. You discard that energy, which sets up for our Melanie, and we can just get Ice Rider Calyrex V to set up. And that's beautiful because now on our next turn we can evolve into, okay, they have Cramomatic. Hopefully they can't. Most likely they're just gonna get a Stadium to counter Path to the Peak so that they can continue to draw extra cards with their Genesect V. But as I was saying, we can just evolve into our Drizzile. And then, oh no, they're gonna target our Ice Rider Calyrex V. They can evolve into Mew VMAX, get enough energies, and they can get a knockout here. That's why Mew VMAX is such a top tier deck, because they can just draw into a lot of cards, getting the cards they need, and they can attack for a lot of damage very consistently. But as for us, we can just evolve into our Drizzile, use its Shady Dealing's ability to draw or search for our support Pokemon or support cards, and hopefully be able to draw extra cards moving forward. But they whiff the energy and they don't evolve into a Mew VMAX, so we're safe for another turn. That is actually very relevant. And Melanie, I think, is the most important. Can accelerate one energy, can evolve into our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, which is really good. And we got a level ball to get us another Drizzile, which I actually need, because we need to get another energy to put onto our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX and hopefully be able to knock out at least one of their Pokemon. I mean, we could get Path to the Peak, which turns off their abilities. If they have no way of countering it, we might be able to move forward, but I think I'm gonna go for just an attack here. I'm gonna discard this energy to set up again, although we are discarding energies if we attack. Use their Stadium, and then I'm just gonna use Ride of the High King, getting us one prize without having to discard energies. And hopefully my opponent's not gonna be able to deal enough damage to knock out our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, because with enough HP, The only way that my opponent can deal a lot of damage is with Meloetta in play, and with enough Fusion Strike energies in play as well. And that's dealing like 280 damage or something like that, and with attack modification, such as the Power Tablet, they can deal a lot of damage to knock out our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. But without it, we might be able to survive an attack and hopefully get a bunch of knockouts to win this game. So the only problem with this League Battle deck is I wish I had access to Choice Belt, which the League Battle deck does not. So that's one thing that you could modify to make this League Battle deck a little bit better out of the box, is to increase your damage. Because even if you discard both energies and use Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX's attack to discard those two energies to increase your attack, you're only dealing up to 250 damage. So with Meloetta now available, they're attacking for 240 damage, which is pretty significant because they're getting 3 prizes for that. Let's just evolve into another Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, and then evolve into our Inteleon. With Shady Dealings, we can get 2 trainer cards instead of 1, as opposed to Drizzile only being able to get 1 trainer card at a time. So I think I'm going to go for Path to the Peak. They have 2 cards left in their hand. With Path to the Peak, I think it's going to make a big difference. That's going to prevent them from drawing extra cards. And I'm just going to boss their Genesect V. Knocking this out will make a big difference, right? So we discard 2 cards, or 2 energy cards from our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, and we're only hitting for 230 because they have Oricorio to reduce damage received from attacks. But by knocking out their Genesect V, that puts a little bit of handicap because now they only have 1 Genesect to draw cards, and that also discards one of their Fusion Strike energies, lowering the attack damage output when they copy Meloetta's attack. So they get 3 prizes for knocking out our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, but that's okay. We are still even in the prize exchange. And Meloetta again helps us to accelerate energies to our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. Put this energy... Oh, you know what? I should have put that. Dude, that 2 damage counters might make a big difference. I should have put the Path to the Peak first before attaching that energy. So you have to be careful, you know, with all these cards that your opponent uses to counter these types of builds, you know. So I'm just gonna get Capacious Bucket. That will allow us access to more energies. Then I can discard my Professor's Research to set up another Ice Rider Calyrex. Get 2 energies from the deck. And I'm debating whether or not I should put my Ice Rider, because if I do, they can get 2 prizes easily if they do knock it out, as opposed to them having to go through the huge HP of Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. But either way, if they get a knockout on their next turn, they are just going to get 3 prizes and win the game. But yeah, I'm just going to weaken this guy. We have Boss's Order. 140 damage is pretty significant. So one way they can get away with this is that if they shuffle their Mew VMAX into the deck, because they can copy Mew V's attack, which deals 70 damage, and then you have a choice whether or not to shuffle your Pokemon back to the deck. So they have that option to survive. However, if they don't, we have Boss's Order. Then we can just knock this Mew VMAX out by discarding both energies on our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, and that's gonna win us the game. So it really all depends on what my opponent does. But I'm glad that their Meloeda's attack is no longer in its full potential. And when they do shuffle their Mew VMAX in the deck, they have double turbo energy attached to their Mews. And that's going to lower their attacks even further, which makes me think that they're not going to be able to knock out my Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. So one way or another, we are going to... Okay, they're just going to boss my Drizzile. That's going to get that one prize, but that's going to make it a lot more dangerous for us to put Ice Rider Calyrex V in play. Because once they knock that out, they're going to get they're going to get one prize. That leaves them with two. And if we put Ice Rider Calyrex V, they could just target it and get the last two prizes. So they do attack, they get a prize, and they shuffle their Mew VMAX into their deck. But they don't have a secondary attacker. We can attack one of their Mew V, which will get us two prizes. And there's no way for them to get two prizes at this point. So I have an option here. I could target their Mew, get two prizes for that. I could target their Genesect V. I mean, I could just target their Genesect V, I guess. So I'm just going to go with Rider the High King, getting one prize here. And that's going to ensure a victory in our next turn. I doubt they have any way to increase damage because they've used a bunch of power tablets already. There's no way they can hit for more than 300 damage. I don't think. And with that path to the peak sticking, there's no way for them to draw extra cards either. So I think we got this, guys. They need two more prizes. Even if they boss our Inteleon, they're not going to get two prizes for that. They can't knock out our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. And we have a boss in hand. We can just target either one of their Genesect Vs. So they're going to discard the last two cards from their hand. Crush Fusion Strike for Techno Blast, dealing 190 damage, and that's gonna be game. We're just gonna target this Mew V, and then max lands, discard two energies for max damage output. 230 damage for the win. Wow, good game. Let's move on to another match. And we're gonna start with two Sobbles. One in the active and one in the bench. And that's what I'm saying, guys. This Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX is actually not too bad out of the box. So we're going up against Lunatone Solrock. So against a single prizer, let's see how well this Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX does. I'm just going to put an energy on my active Sobble. Path to the Peak could be useful against this matchup too, because if they have Radiant Greninja, they're not going to be able to use it. So Radiant Greninja has an ability that discards an energy from your hand and then draw two cards. So each energy they discard, using Greninja, it sets up for Lunatone, because now Solrock can accelerate those energies in the discard pile to one of their Lunatones. So my opponent's starting off pretty strong. They have one Lunatone, and now they have access to 3 Solrocks. So one way my opponent can get ahead in price is if they knock out our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. But I played against Lunatone Solrock combo so many times already that tanking hits is actually one of the strategies that you can go against this type of matchup. So they're not going to be able to attack, which is actually really good. So our Sobble survives in the active spot. That's really, really good. I'm just going to evolve into Drizzile. And we can use Shady Dealings. Can get a Quick Ball. I could set up my Ice Rider. I might I need that heavy attacker because until we evolve into Inteleon, we're sitting helplessly here. Evolve into another Drizzile, get Melanie. It's gonna help us to accelerate energy going into our next few turns, and then what I'm gonna do is just put one energy on Ice Rider, use Melanie, draw extra cards. We got another Ice Rider, which is really good actually. And I mean, I could attack, but it's gonna put me in a bad spot. I could tank a hit though. Right? Yeah. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna tank a hit, but I'm gonna hit for 40 damage. That could go a long way because I'm thinking since we have Quick Shooting Inteleon available, we could continue to chip away at their Pokemon because they're low HP. 90 damage is pretty decent for a one prizer. Basic Pokemon. But if we can evolve into Inteleon with the Shady Dealings ability, we can hit for 20 bench damage as well. And that extra chip damage may go a long way. And so I'm planning to attack with single prizers here for sure, because the price exchange is gonna make it a lot better. It's gonna be in our favor. And the fact that they don't have any energies in their discard pile. Dude, the fact that they're on their second turn and they still haven't attacked is actually really bad for our opponent. So I'm just gonna go all out, use Professor's Research, draw extra cards. We can evolve into Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. Now we can tank a lot more hits. And just gonna quick shooting, I think. I could weaken their other Pokemon on their bench, because I can easily just knock out their active. So I think I'm gonna target their Soul Rock for now. And Ride of the High King to get a free knockout here. It's gonna get us our first prize. So like I said, the high HP of Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX does make a big difference against this matchup, because at most I think they can build up Lunatone's attack up to maybe 200, and that's on a good day because they'll have to use Scoop Up Nets, get a bunch of Soul Rock in play to accelerate energies on Lunatone. So let's see how much damage my opponent's gonna deal here with Lunatone, but we have to watch out because we don't want them to get a knockout as much as possible against our 3 prize VMAX, and they are gonna target our Inteleon with a quick shooting ability, which is a pretty good strategy, I guess. They get a prize, and then that removes that danger of the damage spread. But the more they stall, though, the more my Ice Rider will be able to survive a bunch of hits late game, and that's not gonna help out their matchup. What I mean by that is each time we knock out their Lunatone, they have to rebuild the energies on their Lunatone. So if they really want to get a high damage output, they need to prepare 2 Lunatones and then stack energies on their second attacker. Basically what it is. So they're gonna get a knockout off of our Inteleon, but now we can knock it out with our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, and without any energies built up on their second Lunatone, they're not gonna be stacking a lot of energies on that one. So I'm gonna set up another Inteleon line, so we're just gonna get a Sobble, and I'm gonna start preparing this Inteleon to attack. So I'm gonna put an energy. We can easily energize our other Ice Rider Calyrex with our Melanie. So I'm just gonna evolve this, And then we can get 2 trainer cards from our deck. Path to the Peak will help us again. That's going to prevent them from using their Radiant Greninja because it has a rule box. It does stop it from using their ability. I'm just going to get a boss's order just in case. Use Path to the Peak. Turn off their Radiant Greninja's ability. Use Melanie. Accelerate an extra energy to my other Ice Rider. And I'm just gonna attack. 160 damage. With the full bench, we don't have to discard any energies with the attack right of the High King. So now we're putting a lot of pressure on our opponent. The only thing is that we're taking only 1 prize at a time, right? But if they do get a knockout against our VMAX, they get 3 prizes. So this is still anybody's game. But if my opponent was able to set up quickly in the first 2 turns, I think they may have had the advantage against this matchup. So Lunatone Soul Rock combo is definitely a deadly deck to go against. You know, for a budget-friendly deck, it's insanely annoying to face off. So there it is with a Choice Belt. Look at how easy they can knock out a V Pokemon. 210 damage. I should have just evolved that to a VMAX, but that's alright. Either way, if I evolve that, they can just knock out 2 VMAXs and they can win the game. So that's fine. So that means they have to go through a single prizer and then also our VMAX to win this game. But we might just be able to get ahead in prize. And just gonna put Air Balloon in case we need to retreat it. And then I'm just gonna use Aqua Bullet, knock out the active, and then put a damage counter on one of their Soul Rock. So that's good. We got a prize for that. We got a switch. Alright, cool. And with that setup, they have 4 Soul Rock. They can put 4 energies, and then they need 1 energy attachment from their hand, because with 3 energies, I think with 4 energies, they're dealing 150 damage. 150. But since Inteleon has 160 damage, their Choice Belt is not going to help them increase that attack because Inteleon is not a V Pokemon, which means they need 5 energies to knock out our Inteleon. So knocking out our single prize is already hard for our opponent. And they need 5 energies on their Lunatone. And the more they have to work with that, look at that. They can't even retreat their Soul Rock without attaching an energy. So our Inteleon will survive. We get another knockout. We can just evolve into another Inteleon on our next turn. It's going to be a lot harder for them to knock that one out. And then all the while, they have to go through a VMAX. With so much HP, there's no way. I don't think they can knock it out within 2 turns. And with so much of their item cards already used up, I don't think they can increase that energy acceleration even further, because they need Scoop Up Net to reuse Soul Rock's ability to accelerate more energies, things like that. But you gotta respect the consistency and the versatility, or not the versatility, the fact that it is tough to beat, you know, because you're only taking 1 prize at a time, right? It can attack for a lot of damage. You're only taking 1 prize at a time. It's very consistent. So I think it's a tier down from Reggie Giga's deck, in my opinion. Okay, so they're going to attack 150 damage. 10 HP left on our Inteleon. We can get a knockout. Might as well use Shady Dealings. And we're going to continue to disrupt them using Path to the Peak. And then I could even use Marnie, to be honest with you. But I think for now I'm just going to attack, knock out their active Lunatone. With Manaphy on their bench, we can't attack their bench. But that also puts a little bit of a pressure, because now they can't put their another Soul Rock on their bench. And if they cannot recover their Lunatone, because you see the setup here, they have 3 Soul Rock. They need 1 space for Lunatone here. And that means 1 less space for Soul Rock. So all they can do is accelerate 3 energies on Lunatone. And they're only hitting for 120 damage at this point. With the Choice Belt, 150 against our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, but that's pretty much it. Rescue Carrier gets them 2 Lunatones back to their hand, and they're gonna Marnie. Okay. Shuffle the cards back to the bottom of the deck. We draw 4, they draw 5. And yeah, Trekking Shoes is pretty cool. You draw an extra card, and if it's an energy, you can just put it straight to the discard pile and then just have Soul Rock accelerated. And they whiff it. They can't even attack, bro. We are getting ahead in price here. And with so much HP on Radiant Greninja, though, we won't be able to knock it out. And I'm thinking twice about whether or not to put another Ice Rider Calyrex V, because if they target it, they knock out our Inteleon, that's going to be game. So I could just retreat my Inteleon, knock out their Radiant Greninja with our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. That's going to still get us ahead in prize. But my fear is if they have enough firepower to accelerate to Lunatone, but I don't think they can reach 320 damage. It's either they have it or they don't, guys. It's either they have it or they don't. So they're hitting for 120. They can accelerate 3 more with all the Soul Rock. Right? So that's 240. 270 with a Choice Belt. They have 1 more Scoop Up Net available because they have 3 in the discard pile. 240, 270. Okay, that's 4. Let's recoup that. So they have 4 energies in the discard pile. That's all they can accelerate anyways, right? So it's still... What's that? 120 plus 150? That's 270. 300 damage with the Choice Belt. Bro, I think they can get a 1-hit knockout. If they have 1 more energy in their hand. They don't. They don't get it. Dude, that was a close game. Well, we're just gonna take a knockout here for the win, guys. Wow, that's pretty close. 270 damage. That is insane. Actually, they can only get up to 300 damage, even if they had 1 energy. Alright, we're going straight to our next match then. This time we're gonna be able to go first. And that's what I mean, guys. Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX League Battle deck out of the box is pretty consistent. I gotta say. As is, it is a really good League Battle deck out of the box. We didn't even modify it, and we're already beating a bunch of high tier deck and decks that are very common in the ladder. Okay, so we're going up against a Raichu V build for them to get this far is actually pretty good. Discard this energy set up for our Melanie. Then we can use that on our next turn. We're just going to pass. So we have Sobble in the active, an Ice Rider Calyrex V on the bench. So this is an ideal start because you really want to go first, set up one energy on Ice Rider Calyrex V. But with one energy in the discard pile, we can use Melanie. And then we can just get a quick knockout against this Raichu V. Because it only has 200 damage, 200 HP. All we need to do is evolve into Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. Hopefully we draw into the cards we need with Melanie, because not only does it accelerate an energy, you also draw 3 cards. Okay, Cape of Toughness is going to make a big difference though. So we need to hit for 250 damage. I mean, if we discard 2 water energies, we might still be able to knock it out. They're Raichu V, I mean. And the beauty about Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX is that it is not weak against lightning, which makes a big difference. Because as of right now, there's not a lot of metal type decks that are top tier. Even Duraludon VMAX is a dragon type. It's not even a metal type, so yeah, I think in the current standard format, as of recording of this one, Ice Rider is still a pretty good contender in the standard format right now. Even in a competitive scene, the common ones are being played right now as Palkia, Giratina V, V-Star. So yeah, they're gonna Marnie. Okay, that actually got us a really good card to draw into. So they don't attack their turn. Now we can evolve our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. We have access to... Let's see, can we get this Sobble out of the active spot? Just get a Drizzile for now. Evolve. Yes. And then what I could do is get a Melanie, right? Accelerate 1 energy to our Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. Draw 3 cards. And we got Switch and Air Balloon. Look at that. This is insane, guys. That is pretty insane. Yeah, so if we discard 2 energies, we can just get a knockout. Max Lance. Booyah. 2 prizes, just like that, guys. Even with the Cape of Toughness. Can you feel the impact of that? That must put a lot of pressure on our opponent. Because now we are had 2 prizes. We have a boss's order. We can target their Crobat V. And with no energies available to them, the only one that can attack right now is their Arceus V. And they need to evolve it into Arceus V-Star to deal a significant amount of energy, but they also need double turbo energy. But they can easily use the V-Star ability to get that. They can use Professor's Research. They're digging for that Arceus V-Star for sure. Dude. Wow, good game, man. Good game. And that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to smash the like button for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching the Popsicle Night channel, and as always, stay safe and have a great day.